Loneliness isn't your enemy. Your addiction to people is. Right now, someone in this room is checking their phone, desperate for a notification, a message, any sign that they're not alone. Another person is planning their entire week around avoiding empty moments, filling every second with meaningless interactions to escape the sound of their own thoughts. And someone else is nodding along, pretending this isn't about them, while their entire life is structured around the pathological fear of being alone with themselves. This isn't strength. It's sophisticated weakness masquerading as social connection. There's a moment in every person's life when the world grows silent, when the bustling streets fade away, when phone notifications cease their endless chirping, and when even the steady rhythm of your own breath seems to pause. You've felt it, haven't you? That profound silence that wraps around you like a blanket, both comforting and terrifying at the same time. Some of us run from it. We fill our lives with noise, with endless distractions, with the voices of others telling us who we should be, what we should want, how we should live. But what if I told you that in that silence lies your greatest power? The truth that society often whispers but rarely embraces is this lie: you're alone. Yes, you heard that correctly. You are fundamentally, unchangeably alone. And that's not just okay, it's magnificent. Let me share something with you. In the depths of a forest stands a mighty oak tree. It grows alone, reaching towards the sky with branches that dance in winds both gentle and fierce. Its roots dig deep into the earth, drawing strength from the very solitude that defines it. The tree doesn't wish it were part of a group. It doesn't long for other trees to hold it up. It simply grows, magnificent in its solitude, powerful in its independence. You see, we've been taught to fear solitude. We've been conditioned to believe that being alone means being incomplete, that independence somehow equals isolation. But have you ever stopped to question why? Why do we rush to fill every moment of silence with noise? Why do we seek validation in the eyes of others when the only validation that truly matters is the one we give ourselves? Consider the artist who faces a blank canvas. In that moment of creation, they stand alone with their vision. No committee decides the strokes of their brush. No focus group determines which colors will blend together. The power of their creation comes from that sacred space of solitude, where their unique voice emerges. But here's where many of us stumble. We mistake being alone for being weak. We look at our solitude and see vulnerability when we should be seeing opportunity. Think about the times in your life when you felt most alone. Now think deeper. Weren't those also the times when you discovered your hidden strengths? When you realized that within you resided a power you never knew existed? The caterpillar enters its cocoon alone. There are no support groups for metamorphosis. No one can transform for you. No one can grow for you. No one can become for you. And yet, from that solitary confinement emerges something magnificent, a being that you might be thinking, but what about community? What about relationships? What about love? These are not contradictions to your solitude. They are expressions of it. When you truly understand and embrace your fundamental aloneness, you become capable of forming deeper, more authentic connections with others. Because now you're choosing to share your journey, not depending on others to carry you along theirs. Think about the most powerful moments of human connection you've experienced. They didn't come from dependency or fear. They came from two complete, whole individuals choosing to share their completeness with each other. Like two stars in the night sky, each burning bright with its own light, yet together creating constellations that guide travelers home. The world will try to convince you that you need to be fixed, that there's something wrong with being alone with your thoughts, your dreams, your fears. The self-help industry thrives on this misconception, selling you tools to fix what isn't broken. But what if the real transformation begins when you stop trying to fix yourself and start trying to know yourself? Every great journey of discovery, every moment of breakthrough, every instance of true growth begins in solitude. The first step is always taken alone. The first word is always spoken in silence. The first victory is always won in the quiet battlefield of your own mind. Look at your hands for a moment. Really look at them. These are the hands that will build your future. These are the hands that will write your story. These are the hands that will craft your legacy. No one else's hands can do this work for you. And that's not a burden. It's a gift. When you embrace your solitude, something remarkable happens. The voice of fear begins to fade, replaced by the steady drumbeat of your own truth. The need for constant external validation diminishes, replaced by an unshakable inner knowing. The anxiety about being alone transforms into a deep appreciation for the power of your own company. Your aloneness is not a wall that separates you from others. It's the foundation upon which you build meaningful connections. It's not a prison that confines you. It's the launching pad from which you soar. It's not your weakness. It's your superpower. Think about the ocean. Each wave rises alone, crests alone, and returns to the vast waters alone. Yet in that solitary journey, it creates something beautiful, something powerful, something that changes the very shoreline it touches. You are that wave. Your journey is yours alone, but the impact you create ripples far beyond your individual path. The question isn't whether you're alone. You are. The question is, what will you do with this magnificent solitude? How will you use this fundamental truth to create something extraordinary? What will you build in the sacred space of your own company? Here's the truth that will set you free. Being alone doesn't mean being isolated. It doesn't mean being unloved. It doesn't mean being weak. It means being complete. It means being powerful beyond measure. Have you ever watched a seed break through concrete? It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It doesn't look around for approval or support. In its solitary journey toward the light, it splits apart what seems unbreakable. That's the kind of power that resides within you. Not because you're special, but because you're alive. Let's talk about fear for a moment. Not the kind of fear that keeps you safe from physical harm, but the insidious fear that keeps you small. The fear that whispers, you can't do this alone. The fear that says you need others to validate your worth. The fear that convinces you that solitude equals failure. You know this fear, don't you? It's the one that makes you reach for your phone the moment you feel uncomfortable with your own thoughts. It's the one that pushes you to fill your calendar with meaningless activities just to avoid facing yourself. It's the one that makes you settle for shallow connections instead of diving deep into the ocean of your own being. But what if I told you that this fear is actually a compass? What if the very things that scare you about being alone are pointing directly to where you need to grow? Every time you feel that urge to run from solitude, that's your spirit identifying exactly where you need to build strengths. Think about the times you've compromised your truth to fit in, the times you've dimmed your light to make others comfortable, the times you've swallowed your words to maintain harmony. In each of those moments, you weren't protecting relationships. You were betraying your relationship with yourself. The world doesn't need more people who are good at fitting in. The world needs more people who have found their own voice in the silence of their solitude. It needs more people who have faced themselves honestly and emerged stronger. It needs more people who understand that true connection can only come from a place of complete self-acceptance. When you start to embrace your fundamental aloneness, something magical happens. The energy you used to spend trying to belong, trying to please, trying to conform, all of that energy becomes available for growth. It's like finally stopping the exhausting act of treading water and learning to float effortlessly. When was the last time you made a decision purely from your own wisdom without seeking anyone else's approval? When was the last time you sat with an uncomfortable emotion without trying to distract yourself or numb it away? When was the last time you trusted your inner voice more than the chorus of opinions around you? These aren't just rhetorical questions. They're invitations to recognize how often we give away our power because we're afraid of standing alone. But here's the paradox. The more you embrace your solitude, the more genuine your connections with others become. When you no longer need others to complete you, you can appreciate them for who they truly are, not for what they can give you. Consider the mountain climber reaching for the summit. In that crucial moment, no one else can take the next step for them. No one else can control their breath, steady their nerves, or push through their fatigue. Yet in that absolute solitude, they're more alive than ever. They're not weak because they're alone. They're powerful because they've accepted the challenge of self-reliance. Your life is that mountain. Every challenge you face, every decision you make, every truth you speak, these are your steps toward your own summit. Yes, there may be guides along the way. Yes, there may be others on similar paths. But your journey is uniquely yours, and that's what makes it beautiful. You were born alone, and you will leave this world alone. Every major transformation in between happens in the sacred space of your solitude. This isn't a dark truth. It's a liberating one. It means you don't have to wait for anyone's permission to become who you're meant to be. The butterfly doesn't need witnesses to spread its wings. The flower doesn't need validation to bloom. The sun doesn't need approval to shine. And you, in all your magnificent complexity, don't need anyone else's permission to be fully, completely, authentically yourself. But let's be clear about something. Embracing your solitude doesn't mean rejecting connection. It means understanding that true connection can only come from a place of self-sufficiency. It's the difference between two people clinging to each other for survival and two people choosing to dance together in celebration of life. When you truly accept your fundamental Aloneness, relationships transform from necessity to choice. You stop trying to fill your empty spaces with other people's presence. You stop expecting others to rescue you from your challenges. You stop looking for someone to complete you because you finally understand that you were never incomplete. This is where real strength begins to emerge. Not the kind of strength that comes from pushing others away, but the kind that comes from being so secure in your solitude that you can be genuinely vulnerable. The kind of strength that allows you to stand firmly in your truth while remaining open to learning from others. Think about the most inspiring people you know. Their power doesn't come from their connections or their support systems, though they might have these. Their power comes from their unshakable relationship with themselves. They've learned to be their own best friend, their own trusted advisor, their own source of validation. This is the journey you're being invited to undertake. Not a journey away from others, but a journey toward your own center. A journey to discover that what you thought was weakness, your fundamental aloneness, is actually the source of your greatest strength. Listen closely, because what I'm about to share might challenge everything you've been taught about strength and weakness. Society has sold us a story that strength comes in numbers, that we need an army behind us to move mountains. But the truth whispers in moments of solitude when the world grows quiet and you can finally hear your own wisdom. You've been carrying an extraordinary power within you all along, but perhaps you've been too busy looking outside yourself to notice it. It's like having a diamond in your pocket while begging for pennies on the street. The real treasure isn't in the crowd's approval or in the constant companionship of others. It's in the quiet certainty that rises from your core when you dare to stand alone. Let me tell you about transformation. Real transformation, not the kind that comes from reading books or attending seminars, but the kind that emerges from the depths of solitude. When a desert flower blooms in the harshest conditions, it doesn't question its ability to survive. It doesn't wonder if it's strong enough. It simply reaches toward the sun, drawing strength from its very isolation. You see, we've been taught to see aloneness as a problem to be solved. We rush to fill every moment of silence with noise, every space of solitude with company. But what if the very thing we're running from is the source of our greatest power? What if our desperate attempts to escape solitude are actually preventing us from discovering who we truly are? Think about water for a moment. In its solitary journey, a single drop of water can carve through solid rock, not through force, but through persistence. It doesn't question its path. It doesn't seek permission. It simply moves forward, alone yet complete, weak in appearance, but powerful in reality. The truth is, your perceived weakness, this fundamental aloneness, is actually your greatest gift. It's in these moments of solitude that your authentic voice emerges. It's in the quiet spaces between the noise that your true purpose reveals itself. It's in standing alone that you discover you've always been strong enough. Have you noticed how the world tries to convince you that you need fixing, that you're somehow incomplete on your own? The messages bombard us constantly. 10 steps to be less lonely. 5 ways to never feel alone again. 3 secrets to always being surrounded by people. But what if the real secret is learning to be at peace with your solitude? Remember the last time you felt truly alive? Not happy in the superficial sense, but deeply, profoundly alive. Chances are it wasn't in the middle of a crowd. It wasn't while seeking approval. It was in a moment when you were completely present with yourself, when you touched the truth of your own existence. This is where real power begins. not in gathering armies of supporters or collecting hundreds of shallow connections, but in developing an unshakable relationship with yourself. When you can sit with your own thoughts without flinching, when you can face your fears without running, when you can celebrate your victories without needing witnesses, that's when you discover what true strength means. But let's talk about the resistance you might be feeling right now. Part of you might be thinking, but I don't want to be alone. I don't want to face myself. I don't want to embrace this solitude. And that's perfectly natural. We've been conditioned to fear solitude, to see it as punishment rather than opportunity. You consider their major breakthrough in human history came from someone willing to stand alone with their truth. Every meaningful change began with one person daring to listen to their inner voice above the crowd's opinions. Every profound discovery emerged from moments of deep solitude. Your aloneness is not a curse. It's a crucible. It's a sacred space where transformation happens. Like a caterpillar in its cocoon, you need these moments of solitude to become who you're meant to be. The struggle isn't in being alone. The struggle is in accepting that this solitude is exactly what you need to grow. When you truly embrace this truth, something remarkable happens. The energy you've been using to fight your solitude, to prove you're not alone, to fill every quiet moment, that energy becomes available for growth. It's like finally stopping the exhausting process of swimming against the current and learning to flow with the river of your life. Think about the times you felt most lost. Weren't they the times when you were trying desperately to be what others wanted, when you were seeking validation outside yourself, when you were running from the very solitude that could have shown you the way home? This journey of embracing your solitude isn't about isolation. It's about integration. It's about bringing all parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, the strength and the vulnerability, the certainty and the doubt, into one complete whole. It's about discovering that you don't need to be fixed because you were never broken. The oak tree doesn't apologize for casting a shadow, and you don't need to apologize for standing in your truth. The mountain doesn't seek permission to touch the sky, and you don't need permission to reach for your highest potential. The river doesn't ask if it's flowing the right way, and you don't need to question the authenticity of your path. Your solitude is the soil from which your strength grows. Every time you choose to sit with your own thoughts, rather than drowning them in distraction, you grow stronger. Every time you listen to your inner wisdom, rather than seeking external validation, you grow wise. Every time you embrace your fundamental aloneness, rather than running from it, you grow more powerful. When you fully accept your solitude, you discover you're never truly alone. When you embrace your individual journey, you find yourself connected to everything. When you stop trying to escape your fundamental aloneness, you discover it was your greatest strength all along. There comes a time in every life when the path ahead seems impossible to walk alone. When the weight of your decisions, your dreams, and your fears feels too heavy for one person to carry. In these moments, the world will tell you to seek strength in numbers, to find your worth in others' approval, to measure your progress against someone else's journey. But I'm here to tell you something different, something that might just change everything. The greatest illusion we've been sold is that we need to escape our solitude to find our strengths. We've been taught to see our moments alone as something to fill, to fix, to flee from. But what if these moments aren't empty spaces to be filled, but sacred grounds where your true power takes root? The eagle soars alone, cutting through winds that would ground lesser birds. Not because it's fearless, but because it trusts its own wings. When storms come, and they always do, the eagle doesn't seek shelter in the flock. It flies higher, using the very winds that threaten to destroy it to rise above the storm. You are that eagle. Every challenge that feels too big, every moment that feels too heavy, every decision that feels too important, these are your winds. They're not here to break you. They're here to teach you how to soar. But here's where most of us get stuck. We mistake independence for isolation. We confuse self-reliance with loneliness. We see our fundamental aloneness as a prison when it's actually the key to our freedom. Think about it. How many of your decisions are truly yours? How many of your dreams came from your own heart, not from others' expectations? How many of your fears are actually yours, not borrowed from someone else's story? The truth is, in trying to escape our solitude, we often escape ourselves. We build walls of busy schedules and endless notifications. We create noise to drown out our inner voice. We seek constant connection to avoid the one connection that matters most, the connection with our own spirit. Consider the silence between musical notes. Without it, there would be no melody, no rhythm, no song. Your moments of solitude are like these silent spaces. They're not empty voids to be filled, but essential parts of your life symphony. They're the spaces where your truth resonates, where your power grows, where your authentic self. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. Standing alone with your truth requires courage. Being comfortable in your solitude demands strength. Trusting your inner voice when the world shouts other directions takes unwavering faith. Yet isn't this exactly why it's worth doing? Think of the times when you felt most alive, most authentic, most powerful. Were they times when you were following someone else's path, or when you were blazing your own trail? Were they moments when you were seeking approval, or when you were standing firmly in your own truth? The world needs your unique voice, not your perfect echo of others. It needs your authentic journey, not your flawless imitation of someone else's path. It needs your truth, spoken from that place of solid solitude where no one else can stand but you. When you embrace your fundamental aloneness, something miraculous happens. The very thing you feared, being alone with yourself, becomes your greatest source of peace. The silence you tried to fill becomes rich with wisdom. The solitude you tried to escape becomes the foundation of your strength. You see, true power isn't in having an army behind you. It's in being so grounded in your own truth that you could stand alone against the world and not waver. It's in knowing that even if no one understands your path, you understand it. It's in trusting that even if no one believes in your dream, your belief is enough. This is where transformation begins. Not in the noisy spaces of constant connection, but in the quiet moments when you dare to hear your own heart. Not in the crowd's approval, but in your own unwavering self-acceptance. Not in escaping your solitude, but in embracing it as the source of your strength. Every great journey of self-discovery starts with a single step taken alone. Every meaningful change begins in that sacred space where you stand in your truth, regardless of who stands with you. Every powerful breakthrough emerges from moments when you chose to trust your inner wisdom over external noise. Think about the ocean waves. Each wave rises alone, reaches its peak alone, and returns to the sea alone. Yet in this solitary journey, it creates something beautiful, something powerful, something that changes the very shoreline it touches. You are that wave. Your journey is yours alone, but your impact ripples far beyond your individual path. The strength you seek isn't hiding in someone else's approval. It isn't waiting in the perfect relationship or the ideal community. It's already within you, growing stronger every time you choose to stand in your truth, every time you dare to walk your path, every time you embrace your fundamental aloneness as the gift it truly is. The same force that holds planets in orbit and keeps stars burning in the darkness flows through you. The same power that turns seeds into forests and caterpillars into butterflies lives in your spirit. You are not weak because you're alone. You are powerful because you're complete in yourself. This moment right now is your invitation to stop running from your solitude and start embracing it as your source of strengths. It's your chance to transform what you thought was your greatest weakness into your most profound power. It's your opportunity to discover that you were never truly alone. You were simply getting ready to soar. The deepest truths often come to us in moments of complete solitude, when the world falls away, when the noise subsides, when we finally stop running from ourselves. That's when we discover who we truly are. And who you truly are is nothing short of magnificent. We stand now at a crossroads. One path leads back to the familiar comfort of dependency, of seeking strength outside ourselves, of measuring our worth through others' eyes. The other path leads into the unknown territory of self-trust, of inner strength, of unshakable peace with our own company. The choice might seem daunting, but consider this. You've already proven your strength countless times. Every challenge you've faced, every obstacle you've overcome, every storm you've weathered, you did these things not because someone else carried you, but because something within you refused to be defeated. Look at your hands again. These hands have dried your own tears. These hands have picked you up when you fell. These hands have built bridges across impossible chasms. These hands belong to someone far stronger than you've allowed yourself to believe. The world will continue to tell you that you need more more connections, more validation, more external support. But what if what you really need is less noise drowning out your inner wisdom, less dependency on others' approval, less fear of your own company? When you embrace your fundamental aloneness, you discover something extraordinary. You become capable of deeper connections than ever before. Because now you're connecting from a place of wholeness, from a place of choice, not desperation. From a place of strength. Think about the strongest tree in a storm. Its power doesn't come from leaning on other trees. It comes from having roots that grow deep into the earth, from being able to bend without breaking, from standing alone yet remaining unshakable. That's the kind of strength that awaits you when you stop running from your solitude. Your journey forward from this moment doesn't require you to become something different. It requires you to recognize what you already are, complete, capable, powerful in your own right. Every step you take alone is a step. Every moment you embrace your solitude is a moment of pure strength. The butterfly emerging from its cocoon must struggle alone. If someone were to help it to break open the cocoon and free it from its solitary struggle, its wings would never strengthen enough for flight. Your moments of solitude, your personal struggles, your individual journey, these are not your weakness. They are the very things strengthening your wings for flight. Remember this: the same force that keeps stars burning in the darkness flows through your veins. The same power that turns winter into spring lives in your spirit. The same strength that moves mountains resides in your heart. You are not weak because you're alone. You are powerful because you're complete in yourself. Every great truth must be discovered alone. Every meaningful transformation must be embraced individually. Every powerful breakthrough must come from within. Your solitude isn't your prison. It's your launching pad into greatness. As you leave this space today, you might feel the old fears trying to creep back in. The world outside these walls might try to convince you once again that you're not enough on your own. That's when you must remember. The oak tree doesn't doubt his ability to weather the storm alone. The mountain doesn't question its right to touch the sky. The river doesn't seek permission to carve its own. You are that oak tree, that mountain, that river. Your strength doesn't come from outside yourself. It flows from within. Your power isn't granted by others. It's awakened by your own recognition. Your worth isn't determined by your connections. It's inherent in your very existence. Take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs. This breath is yours alone. No one else can breathe it for you. No one else can live your life for you. No one else can walk your path for you. And that's not a burden. It's a gift. It's your gift. It's your power. It's your truth. The journey ahead is yours to walk. There will be moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments when the old stories try to pull you back into dependency and self-doubt. In these moments, remember, you were born complete. You were born powerful. You were born ready for this journey. Your solitude is not your weakness. It's your superpower. Your independence is not your burden. It's your wings. Your individual journey is not your limitation. It's your liberation. Every step you take alone is a step toward your... Every moment you embrace your solitude is a moment of pure strength. The time has come to stop running from your aloneness and start running toward your greatness. To stop seeking strength in numbers and start recognizing the power that already lives within you. To stop trying to escape your solitude and start using it as the foundation for a life of authentic power. You are not weak because you're alone. You are powerful because you're you, complete, whole, magnificent in your solitude, ready to soar. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step taken alone. Your step, your journey, your power. Take that step now. Embrace your solitude, trust your strength, spread your wings, and soar. Because you are not just alone. You are magnificently, powerfully, completely yourself. And that is more than enough. That is everything